about to share with you some of my top secret tips to the perfect marriage. What's up? Welcome back to the Chef Boy RDN podcast with your host, the Chef Boy RDN. And I gotta say, I missed doing the episode last week. I can't even lie to y'all, but I'm excited to get this episode started. We've been on kind of a journey. We're actually coming to the end of the first season. There'll be more about that coming up soon, but yeah, it's been fun. We've been going through each week talking about different things. We've talked about vitamins and minerals. We've talked about food insecurity. We've talked about diet. We've talked about a little bit about exercise. And today sounds a little crazy to be talking about the perfect marriage on the Chef Boy RDN podcast. But when I'm talking about marriage, I'm actually talking about the marriage of diet and exercise. Okay. These are two things that a lot of times in the health world, we tend to do one or we tend to do the other, but we don't really put them together like we need to. So I wanted to do this episode to talk about all the things about why diet and exercise are so important as their own different entities, but why they also work so well together and form the perfect marriage. So stick around. We're gonna talk about it and a lot more here on the Chef Boy RDN podcast. So as you can see, I have upgraded my notes. We've gone digital. I don't know if it's going to stay like this. I kind of like scribbling all over my paper, but I've tried to organize it on my iPad here in my little notes section. So let's kind of get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the reason why we consider diet and exercise the perfect marriage. Now, it is true that both of them help to build a healthy body. A lot of times people want to do one without the other. And fortunately, the plus is typically if you do one and you really lean into it and you do it well, you will see results. But for maximum results, you got to do both. Okay. So one of the things that is a big myth is that you can just exercise it away, right? You can eat whatever you want, but as long as you are consistent in the gym, you will see these magnificent results. And to be honest with you, this is true to a point, right? At the end of the day, when we're talking about the functions of exercise and what it does for our body, you can get the benefits of exercise without diet. When we talk about the functions of diet and what it does for our body, you can get the benefits of diet without exercise. But to be honest, if you are overall just trying to live a healthy life, you gotta put both of them together. So when we think about exercise, it's about being physical. It's about getting active, right? Walking, dancing, going to the gym, lifting weights, cardio, sports, whatever it is. It's about being active, getting your body moving, getting that heart rate up. The biggest misconception when it comes to diet is that diet is uh, a finite thing. It only happens for a period of time. But a diet is simply the way in which you eat your food, right? That is a diet. So I am a omnivore. I eat meat, I eat plants, I eat vegetables. That's my diet. I don't have anything super specific. I don't eliminate things that from my diet specifically unless I don't like them or they're not good, or they don't taste good, right? But at its core, a diet is just what you eat. We have now changed the idea of what a diet is into these things that have to be very strict and very strenuous. And that's not what a diet is. It's just, again, what you eat. So when you are choosing to eat better, focusing on whole foods and whole grains and things like that, again, you get good benefits from that, but you won't see maximum results without the physical activity. So I keep going back and forth between the two, but just to sum it up, a diet is good for your to if I could keep it simple, it's good for your insides, right? It helps with your energy levels. It also helps with combating diseases overall and helps to prevent disease. It helps to reduce diseases. It helps to regulate your cholesterol levels when you have a good diet that's lower in in LDLs. It also helps your body to just function overall. It gives you energy, helps you to recover when you have worked out. So diet is very important. What does exercise do? Well, exercise actually helps you to build muscle. We know that. Exercise also helps you with mental clarity. It's been proven that when you exercise, you have better mental health outcomes overall. You typically tend to be a lot happier um, and just more a sense of more focus and a sense of more clarity when you exercise. Exercising also helps to boost your metabolism. So people who feel like their metabolism is slowing down, like when is the last time you got outside and walked? When is the last time you went to the gym? All of these things help boost your metabolism. And then the last thing is definitely muscle retention. If you are exercising and keeping those muscles active, you will keep them built up. Now, what does it look like to diet without exercise, right? So, when we think about dieting without exercise, you have the pros of it is that you can lose weight. You can. You tend to have better lab results if you are eating what you need to be eating. Obviously, if you have any health conditions when we're talking about diet, staying away from things you know you need to stay away from, or working with your dietitian to come up with some type of game plan to help keep you healthy, right? So, for example, if you have type 2 diabetes, that doesn't necessarily mean you got to get rid of all carbs. It actually doesn't mean you have to get rid of all carbs at all, but working with somebody to help you create a diet that balances those carbohydrates with the proteins and fats is going to be very beneficial. If you are a person that has high cholesterol, building a diet that focuses on fiber and things that help to reduce those high cholesterol levels and those LDLs and the triglycerides, things like that, that's the type of diet you want to build, right? If you have hypertension, choosing a diet that doesn't exacerbate that or it makes it worse. So when we talk about diet, it does help with your health outcomes overall, and it helps you to lose weight typically. If you are specifically dieting for weight loss, if you stay in a calorie deficit, meaning that you are expelling more energy, you're putting out more energy than you're taking in, you're going to lose weight. There are other factors that can kind of work with that, but at baseline, you're going to lose weight. So we know that that's going to happen. The flip side of it is when you lose that weight, because you aren't focusing on muscle building, you tend to lose muscle mass too. We know, especially as we age, we have better health outcomes overall, statistically speaking, when we have a good ratio of muscle mass on our body. A lot of times, people who don't have a lot of muscle mass have worse health outcomes overall. So you definitely want to keep that muscle mass, and you'll lose that if you aren't focusing on building muscle, right? The other thing is it can actually slow down your metabolism. Especially if you are dieting and you aren't doing anything to keep the energy kind of going, it will actually slow down your metabolism. So a lot of people will hit a wall a lot quicker. A wall meaning people who are trying to lose weight, they stop. They stop losing weight. They stall for a second. So that's the cons and the pros of just doing a diet without doing exercise. Now, on the flip side, when it comes to exercise, pros and cons. Exercise, if you aren't dieting, you will get the progress will be slow. Okay. Because at the end of the day, as I said, it's about calories in, calories out when it comes to weight loss and building muscle. If you aren't properly eating the right amount of protein, the right amount of fat, fiber, carbohydrates, you aren't really setting yourself up for this physique that you may want. Right. So you won't see a lot of progress as quickly in the gym. The other thing is if you aren't properly fueling your body when you go to work out, you'll feel fatigued a lot longer. Recovery will take way longer. Um, if you're on a pizza diet and you working out, you gonna feel all of it, right? And I'm not saying don't ever eat pizza, but what I'm saying is if you aren't maximizing how, when, where you eat the different types of food groups for your exercise, then you're not going to get the best results from that exercise. It's really just that simple. The other thing, of course, we know exercise does is it does build muscle. It'll build muscle on its own. It also helps to boost your mental health, as I said earlier. All of this to say, you got to put them together. Now, let's talk about what it looks like to fuel actually for exercise. Before we get into that, what I will say is when it comes to exercise, you want to at least try to exercise 150 minutes a week. That's what the CDC recommends. The CDC being the Center of Disease Control. They're the one who manage all the chronic illnesses and things like that. And so they recommend a diet. They recommend exercising 150 minutes a week at least. For most people, that equates to about 30 minutes 5 times a week, right? Now, fueling your body for exercise. So, one of the things that I want you to think about is how our body utilizes the different types of macronutrients to function. Okay. So typically, if you want energy, quick acting energy, you're going to eat carbohydrates typically. Now, obviously, there's complex, there's simple carbs. We can go on and on, but at baseline, quick energy is going to come from carbohydrates. Slower energy is going to come from your fats and your protein. Okay. We also know that protein helps us to build muscle. So now, with that being said, before you work out, you want to typically eat maybe a little bit of protein, but you really want to have some type of carbs, okay? Whether it is a piece of fruit and some peanut butter and apples, right? Whether it's, there's so many different things that you could do, just to fuel your body. Some oatmeal, right? I'm just thinking morning stuff. I don't know, my brain is stuck on morning stuff. But bananas, yogurt, peanut butter, things that are going to give you some carbs, but also going to give you a little bit of protein. You're going to get some protein from the peanut butter. You're going to get some protein from the yogurt. We know you're going to get carbs from the banana, from the fruit in general. A smoothie, like a green smoothie or something like that. That could be something that's good to fuel your body. And typically you want to drink it or eat it at least about 30 minutes before you go to work out. You don't really want to work out necessarily on a full stomach, especially if you're doing like the leg press and stuff like that. That's just, or abs, core. That's kind of crazy work. It's a cramp waiting to happen. And probably some gas and maybe something else if you're not careful, especially with the squat machine. With the leg press. Now, when it comes to post workout, you want to think more protein heavy, right? So you could do that with like a protein shake. You can eat some type of meat, like a chicken something. You can do another smoothie that has some additional protein in it, like some Greek yogurt or protein powder. But you want to replenish that protein because you got to think when you're exercising, especially if you're lifting weights, but really any type of exercise, there is a breaking down of the muscles. That's how they build back stronger, right? And the way that they build back once they break down a little bit is by the addition of that protein. So if you aren't putting protein back into your body, you're not going to see the maximum results. So that definitely helps. The other thing to think about through this whole process when we're talking about fueling and exercise is water. You can't leave out water. So when we talk about marriage, water is in there. It's in the mix. You got to make sure you're having enough water throughout the day in general. Of course, you can go back and watch my water episode to see how you calculate your water. But what I will say is when you go to the gym and before you go to the gym, drink some water, fuel up. When you go to the gym, drink more water. When you get home, drink even more water. Um, Hydration and being properly hydrated is also going to help with that hunger and the fullness aspect of it all. So, drinking water is very important as well. Now, one thing that I have learned or that I have seen in helping others is that a lot of times people do one or the other because one of those two things, if not both of them, feel like, for lack of a better word, punishment for them, right? So what I mean by that is I don't mind exercising. I like to exercise, but please don't make me, try to eat a more balanced meal. That just feels like torture. Or I don't mind eating healthy, but I just can't walk. I can't do like that feels like torture. You got to change the mindset, right? Because we're talking about better health outcomes. The whole point of this podcast is so that you get to live a long, prosperous, healthy life where your body is still functioning like it needs to, where you're able to reduce medications if, obviously working with the doctor. Let's hold our horses here, you know. But the point that I'm making is if you always deem it as punishment, you will never find the enjoyment and the worth. Okay? A lot of times we don't do things because the when we weigh the level of worth, it's just not worth it, right? So in our minds, if exercise is punishment, well, if it's punishment, I'd rather just have a shorter lifespan. That's kind of how we rationalize it. We don't even think about it that way, right? If dieting is punishment, then I would rather just deal with all the complications that come with the chronic disease of me not choosing a better lifestyle when it comes to dieting. If you start thinking about the benefits versus the sacrifices, you will really start to think about the worth, right? If I eat healthy, I don't have to worry about, you know, having a heart attack, or I don't have to worry about a stroke as much. My risk of type 2 diabetes goes way down. And maybe if I did have it, my numbers go back down. And so I don't have to be on this medication anymore. Even if I have to be on the medication, maybe it's a lot less than what I used to take, right? These are better health outcomes. I have seen people in my life, adults, older people. I say adults like I'm not an adult. People that are older than me who have to live a life of medication and a life of hospitals and a life of somebody else caring for them. And there are a lot of different circumstances that leads to that. So I don't want to oversimplify and say if you do these things, you won't experience those things later in life. But what I am saying is statistically, it lowers the risk for all of the things that can lead to that type of lifestyle later on in life. And so when you start thinking about the benefits of the sacrifice versus the sacrifice itself, it makes it that much more worth it. I don't like doing chest press. I actually, if I'm gonna sound crazy, but I like leg day more than I like arms and stuff. But I like the benefits that I see from it. And so I'm gonna be in there every Tuesday and every Thursday doing upper body stuff because I like the benefits, the results that I'm getting. If I only thought about the punishment, how much it hurts, how much it sucks, um, I would never get to the point that I am today. And I plan to go even further than where I am today. So, my point in saying all of that is look at this marriage for the benefits that it can provide for you. Don't just think about one thing or the other, think about both of them. Think about exercise, think about eating well. And this is how you build a healthy lifestyle. This is the last thing I'll leave you with. One part of the appointments that I do with a lot of patients, especially if they are just really there for on a health journey to change their life. We have a whole conversation about the whys. When I say the whys, why are the goals that I'm setting when it comes to nutrition? Um, Making sure I'm prioritizing fiber, making sure I'm balancing my plate. With exercise, making sure I'm exercising 3 times a week. These are goals that we set, but why? Why am I setting these goals? So it's beneficial. And what I would recommend you to do, especially if you have a hard time staying consistent, is take the time and literally write out your whys. Maybe it's longevity. Maybe it's better health outcomes overall. Maybe it's to eventually reduce medications. Maybe it is to lose weight. Maybe it's to go up the stairs and not have to breathe for a long time after. Maybe I just want better skin. Whatever your why is, write them all down. Keep them in the forefront of your mind so that when it comes time to do the task to get you the results, right? You won't feel that it's a task. You'll feel that it's just a thing that gets you closer to your. Okay. All right. That's enough. We've talked about diet and exercise today. And we're going to come back for Chef Boy RDN Tries It. For Chef Boy RDN Tries It, we got these. These are Neuro Mints. This is a company that was on Shark Tank, and they basically said that the mints and the gum help to promote good energy levels as well as help you with focus. It's been a long week. It's actually been a long day as well. I'm a little tired. So we're going to try these out, and we'll see how they go. Now, you'll definitely be able to tell by this point, because when I insert this video, it'll be Chef Boy RDN Tries It. You'll definitely be able to tell if they worked or not. We'll see if I'm focused and energized. All right, so a serving size is 2. This is what it looks like out the package. And I'll show it again when we do it. Now, this is the mint flavored and this is cinnamon. I'm going to just start with the mint. All right. I'll tell y'all how it goes. All right, so as you saw in the clip, I did try the Neuro Mints. I tried the mint one, mint flavored. I also have the cinnamon flavor. It's not open yet, but I am going to try it. I need to look up here when I do it. I have the mint flavor. I also have the cinnamon flavor. I haven't tried them yet, but the cinnamon flavor, that is. But we'll talk about the mint flavor. Now, the thing about these is it is caffeinated, so it does have caffeine in it. It also has L-theanine, and we know L-theanine does a lot when it comes to focus. And so it helps with that. And then it has just B vitamins in general. When I look on the back of the package, it's 5 calories per serving. A serving is 2 mints. And is there anything else that y'all need to know from the back of the package? It has B12, B6, some sugar alcohols, 2 carbohydrates, natural caffeine. It's only 80 milligrams of caffeine, so it's not a lot of caffeine, less than you would get in a coffee. Now, the real question is, first of all, before we get to does it work, how does it taste? Here's my thing, okay? It tastes like a mint, but there is a weird aftertaste. And because the serving size was 2, I just took 2 at the same time. You might want to take one, let it dissolve, and then take the other one, because it takes a lot longer to dissolve when it's 2. But then the flip side of that is you got to live with it a little longer, I feel like, if you do one after the other. So do what you will with that information. But it did taste a little bitter. Like the aftertaste was bitter. It tastes like a mint, and then it had like this kind of bitter aftertaste. And I know that's from the caffeine. I already know that. Now, does it work? Okay. Before I started, I was very tired. Okay. The more that I've gotten into the conversation that we've been talking about today, I think that I do feel a lot more energized. I feel like my brain kind of zeroed in. Um, Now I don't know how much I'm gonna edit it, but at the beginning, I'm gonna be honest, it did feel a little like bing, 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 bing. And then towards the end, I was able to focus in on what I was talking about. Y'all might not see the bing, 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 because I might edit it. Maybe you will. I don't know. It depends on how. Well, we'll just see. We'll see. So, but all in all, I want to give it a few more days, so I'm gonna come back to y'all with an update. But I will say, preliminarily, it does seem to work. Has a weird taste. I don't like the taste at all, but it's not unbearable. Okay. They also have a gum form. Now, I haven't chewed gum probably about, not consistently, in probably about 15 years. Like, and when I say not consistently, I'm talking about there might have been 3 or 4 times within those 15 years that I might have had a piece of gum. And most of them ended up on an airplane. So I don't really chew gum, so I can't speak to that. I do mints. So as far as the mints go, it had a weird aftertaste. Now I'm gonna also taste the cinnamon one. I'm gonna tell y'all how that tastes, and then lastly, when I come back, I'm gonna tell you um, how it does with my energy and focus overall. So that is everything from Chef Boy RDN tries it. Make sure y'all go out if you want to. They sell them at CVS. They sell them at, where else? Sprouts. I mean, it's somewhere everywhere. It's on the internet. It's on Amazon. They have their own website. So you can definitely try them out, see how you like them. If you're a person that's sensitive to caffeine, or if you are young, definitely think twice. I don't want you to be out here overdoing it on the caffeine, but it is, hopefully, we'll see as I give y'all a report, it is hopefully a good alternative to like a coffee, and definitely a good alternative to an energy drink. So that is everything on NeuroMints. All right, and we are back for this week's vitamin of the week. Now, the vitamin of the week this week is vitamin K. This is a fat soluble vitamin, and it's actually used in blood clotting. It helps with our blood clots, which, whenever you hear about blood clots, you normally don't hear about the best information surrounding them, because blood clots within the blood can be very dangerous. But we need our blood to clot for when we get cuts. When we get cuts, we start to bleed, and our blood will thicken and eventually clot to seal up that wound. And so vitamin K plays a big factor in blood clotting. Now, vitamin K also helps with bone health. It helps to get the calcium where it needs to go, along with, of course, vitamin D and calcium itself. So it's very important for that as well. Now, where can you find vitamin K? Well, you can find vitamin K1 in a lot of leafy vegetables, and you can find vitamin K2 in fermented foods and animal foods. So let's talk about K1. Let's look at my notes. So vitamin K1, or phytoquinone, you can actually find in, like I said, leafy vegetables. Kale is a big one. Spinach, collard greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, romaine lettuce, even iceberg lettuce. So yes, for those who say iceberg lettuce has no nutritional value, it actually has vitamin K in it. And green peas. Green peas is another source. Those are going to be where you find it in your leafy vegetables. And again, that's vitamin K1. Vitamin K2, which is melaquinone, you find that in fermented and animal based food. So you can find that in high amounts in a food called natto, which is a fermented soybean. And it's that, those beans that look real sticky that you see people eating sometimes. You can also find it in cheese, like Gouda cheese and um, Edam cheese. You can also find it in egg yolks, as well as chicken. And of course, that magical meat that we always talk about, which is going to be liver. The last thing you need to know about it is with toxicity and deficiencies. Deficiencies are going to be very rare, but um, they can happen if you have fat absorption issues, because it is a fat soluble vitamin. It can also happen if you are on long term antibiotics. So just keep that in mind. Um, and then with toxicity, again, very rare. Um,
because we normally get vitamin K from our food. Some people may have to supplement. Back in the day, they used to also have uh, vitamin K3, which was a completely synthesized vitamin, and it was called Manadone, and it actually was toxic to humans. So they stopped doing that. They will supplement with vitamin, I don't know if it's K1 or K2, but they won't do K3. Now, if you do have issues with blood clotting and you need to be on blood thinners, like warfarin, you do want to be mindful about vitamin K supplementation. You probably don't want to do it because they will interfere and interact with each other, because one is trying to thin the blood and one is trying to thicken the blood, right? The other thing about warfarin, or when you are on blood thinners, it doesn't mean you have to stop eating those leafy vegetables or those foods that are high in vitamin K. You just want to be consistent. So if you're a person that likes salads and things like that, you want to kind of eat about the same amount of leafy greens throughout the week, so that when your doctor regulates your medicine, it stays the way it needs to stay. Because if you one day eat a big salad with kale, and then the next day you don't eat any kale, well, that's kind of making it hard with the vitamin K amounts that's coming in your body for the warfarin to really do its job. So just keep that in mind too. And that is everything on vitamin K.
All right, I want to thank y'all for spending the day with me today. Welcome back. This is episode 16, and so we have two more episodes in this season episode 18 and 17. And during those episodes, we're going to talk about a couple other things. I'm trying to see how I want to end with season 1, episode 18, but I will go ahead and tell you, spoiler alert, season 2, we're going to be changing some things up. I'm going to change up some of the segments. I want to definitely bring more people into the conversation. I really enjoyed the conversation that I had with my wife a couple of weeks ago during the Juneteenth. I loved just the collaboratory feel of it. It wasn't like an interview, but it was just like a conversation. And so I hope y'all enjoyed that. If you didn't get a chance to see it, definitely go back, look for that episode. It was fun. We talked all about Juneteenth. We talked about insecurities. We talked about our food insecurities. We talked about black foods, things that we eat in the black community that are actually really good and beneficial and healthy for us. One of my favorites, as y'all know, is okra. And hold on one second. So look what I got. Can y'all see it? This is pickled okra. Now, it didn't come red like this. It actually has Korean red pepper flake that I added, which is called gojigaru. Yeah. And I added in, I let it sit for a couple days so it can get spicy because I love hot food. So it's been sitting, should be ready. It's perfect. Definitely a great way to try okra. So, all of that said, if you don't take anything else away from today, remember that if you are a person who is on a health journey and you got the dieting down, but you don't want to exercise, or you got the exercise locked in, but you can't lock in on the dieting, remember that they are the perfect marriage. They don't want to be separated. They want to be together. What did Al Green say? Let's. Anyway, they want to stay together. So make sure that they stay together. And the other thing is, remember your whys. Remember why you're doing this in the first place. Whys help to set and keep perspective so that you will stay consistent. If something doesn't feel like it's worth it, you won't stick to it. If you remember your whys and you remember why it's worth it, you'll definitely have better outcomes overall. That is all I got. I will talk to y'all next week. Be sure to like, share, rate, review, subscribe wherever you are listening or watching if you're watching on YouTube. And you can also follow me at thechefboyrd.n on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm everywhere you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart. I'm also on YouTube. So definitely check me out. Again, I'm trying to get this message out. So help me out. Be sure to share it with a friend, somebody who wants to learn a little something about nutrition and lifestyle. I got them and I got you. I will talk to y'all next week, sous chefs. Y'all stay safe.